Welcome back, griefsense familia. I am so excited because today we have a special guest, my good friend that I just recently reconnected with, Kara Roselle. We have a special conversation planned for you all today, and honestly, I just can't wait to get into it. I know she's going to drop a lot of gems, helping us reconnect with our roots and spirit and our loved ones who have transitioned. And I just can't wait for you all to experience her greatness. And if you're not following her on social media, what are you doing? Kara, please feel free to take the stage, the virtual stage, and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Mimi, for giving me the stage, for providing this space of talking about grief. It's so important. It's really important work.
Thank
My
you.
name is Kara Roselle, and I like to introduce myself as a human first. I feel like oftentimes we say, I'm a DJ, I'm a writer. And while that's totally okay, I feel like I don't want to restrict myself in terms of what my profession is. And so the way I creatively express myself is through writing, is through DJing, is through storytelling, educating. Um, and yeah, I've been doing those things for a number of years now, trying to amplify my mom's voice, who is the chief of our tribe. And I am on the tribal council fighting for land back, fighting for reparations. And I also am a creative and I make music. And soon I have a mix coming out, which is my first mix for DJing. And I'm excited to weave that into my storytelling as well.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I can't wait for that. And I do remember from, when you were in Connecticut years ago when I
Yes.
first knew of you and got to
Yeah.
learn about your greatness. Like you always in like the creative and music spaces and events. So that's so cool that you're still doing that. And that's probably taken
Yes.
to a whole nother form and a whole nother level. So can't wait to
Definitely.
experience that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I can't wait for our conversation. Um, so I always like to just start with a breath to ground us because I know we're
Let's do
probably going
it.
to talk about some heavy topics. And something I realized recently, I never say TW or trigger warning for people. Um, I don't think I've done that consciously. I just for me, I talk about death and really heavy topics every day, and
Mhm.
if I say trigger warning, I'd be saying that every time I say something.
Mhm.
So
I relate.
you know
I
you
relate.
know
Yes.
but
Yes.
I do think that just being intentional with our breath and holding space is a way that an alternative way of me saying trigger warning.
Yeah.
So without further ado, so we're going to breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and exhale for 4. Okay.
The
And
box breathing.
listeners, yes, box
Mhm.
breathing, and everyone tuning in, please feel free to take this breath with us and hold space for all of the amazingness that Kara is going to share with us today. So let's breathe in for 4, hold, exhale. All right. All right. So, Kara, who
Mhm.
are we honoring today?
Today we are honoring my wonderful mother, Alma Gordon. Yeah, my rock, really amazing, selfless person who passed away in 2022.
Hmm. Thank you so much for sharing. Also,
Mhm.
what's the date that she transitioned? Because I want to add it to my calendar and
Thank
send you
you.
some love.
She passed on September 28th, 2022. So September 28th.
Thank you. So I wrote that down and expect some love on that day.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Yeah. So yeah, let's please. Oh wait, and you said her name is Alma?
Alma, yeah. ALMA.
And of course that means soul in
Yeah.
Spanish. Like,
Yeah.
wow.
I know, yeah, and I
That
feel
just
like
gave me
yeah.
goosebumps.
Yeah, no, and it's I have never met somebody with her name, and I feel like it's not often that I hear that name, but yeah, it does literally translate to soul, and I feel like she had such a pure and beautiful soul that I feel around me all the time, and I'm so grateful to have been, like, raised and influenced by yeah.
Wow,
Mhm.
that just gave me, like, I don't even know, all the goosies, but just such a good grounding feeling just to know that
Mhm.
that is what her name and spirit embodies. Okay,
Mhm.
so with that, tell us about Our Lady Alma and, you know, her impact on you, whatever you feel called to share in this moment about your mom.
Sure. Yeah, I would be comfortable sharing kind of just the story. So,
Yeah.
yeah, my mom has been such a loving force in my life. I
Mm.
feel grateful to have had my mom and to have been loved by her. I know that not everybody has the fortune of feeling love and feeling loved by a parent or parents. And the older
Mm.
I get, the more I'm faced with that. And I come to that realization. And something that actually somebody I dated said to me once was, you meet you and you can tell that you are loved by your mother. And I
Wow.
feel like
Wow.
that's one of the best things somebody's ever said to me. And not just because it's something that um, feels good to me and in my soul, but because it reflects on who my mom was and her ability to love and guide her daughter. And so,
Wow.
yeah, my mom was just such a special, kind person and really reserved, really to herself, very quiet. Could be like a bit the opposite of me. And yeah, I was her only child, with her and my dad. And she, I know she really wanted to have a child and she wanted to raise me. And you could tell every single day, that was her goal in life. And that's like I think what she wanted the most. And so I'm really glad that I was able to be, in partnership with her for that in that way. Like our souls, like we're contracted to do that. And yeah, my mom also was the chief of our tribe. I'm Native American and part of a tribe called the Chappaquiddick Wampanoag, who are from what a lot of people know as Martha's Vineyard Island, but it is known as Noah Bay, meaning land amid the waters and streams, to the Wampanoag people, the original stewards. And she was the historian of our tribe and the chief of our tribe. And from seeing her be a trailblazer in that way, I think I learned the importance of using your voice and cultivating a passion and fighting for something pretty young. And it's felt like such an honor to have felt the baton passed in that way since she passed. And I feel like I get a lot of fulfillment out of carrying on her work and what she dedicated so much of her life to, you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Wow. I just like I do have an urge to cry, but I'm trying to lock in
We
and
can
just
also,
like
yeah, no, I welcome it. It's human to cry. So,
yeah, I just, you know, it's so interesting because like I feel like I'm definitely an emotional person, but I'm like an
mhm.
expert associator. But then when
Yeah.
it's time to like podcast, like there's like a switch that comes over me, you know, and it's just like
Yeah.
we're locked in.
The
But
professional
then,
locked in switch, yeah.
yes, but then that's why I love having these types of conversations because like, you know, we're not professional all the time. You know, we're
Yeah.
human. We're human first to your point. And just
Mhm.
hearing her impact on you, her impact on the world, her impact on her community, on her tribe, like it's just so powerful. It's just so powerful. And I feel like you are definitely the living embodiment of legacy and just like carrying her legacy because you could have easily been like, this is too much for me after she
Yeah.
passed and said, you know, I need to walk away from this and, you know, just carry on my own creative efforts and things that I want to do. But
Yeah.
no, you were like, let me go deeper in this and let me
Mhm.
really honor her legacy. And like, it
Yeah.
takes a special like, that's not easy to do, like,
Yeah.
how has
Yeah.
that been for you? Like, what was that experience like? Like, was there a certain moment in your life, like, after her transition that you were like, "I need to get more involved," or that you kinda needed to take it up a notch? Like, what just
Mhm.
kinda walk us through a little bit of that
Sure.
that happened?
I mean, I think that realization it definitely was kicked into high gear when she passed, but I think it came even before she passed when she was sick. And so I can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
My mom in 2019 was diagnosed with something called MSA, which stands for multiple systems atrophy. and it's a
Mm.
neurodegenerative disorder. It's super rare and not much is known about it right now. There's no cure. And
Wow.
it is basically, neurodegenerative. And so it's in the brain, and slowly different systems of the body and things that should function normally start to fail. And
Mm.
so it's kind of this slow degeneration of body systems. And she was having symptoms prior to the diagnosis, maybe at least a few years, and would feel faint after eating, and her blood pressure would be up and down, specifically more down. And yeah, it was just, she was, trying to get tested for diabetes and other things that are a little bit more common, and everything was coming back negative. And so she was diagnosed officially in 2019 in Boston. And then slowly the disease was progressing. And I was actually engaged at the time that she was diagnosed, and was living in New York and Brooklyn. And that relationship ended for other reasons. And I feel so grateful now, reflecting back. I was having to move back home, and my life was shifting, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is a really difficult time. But I'm so grateful now. And I see why that needed to happen, because that was a chance to spend some time with my mom before she left.
Wow.
And so I had moved back to Connecticut and spent about a year or so, maybe a little longer, with my mom, and was along with a nurse that like came in and helped a couple times a week, doing a lot of caretaking for her. And in that time, I was realizing that through her being the historian and chief of our tribe, there was so much knowledge she had. And there were documents, and I still have all of those, but so much knowledge inside of her that I wanted to make
Mm.
sure was preserved. And I was really trying to have conversations and write things out. And that's why I also started to post online and post on Instagram and TikTok specifically, more to raise awareness for our people. And I remember she was having a conversation with me and saw the trends of folks talking about their heritage and talking about reparations in different ways in communities. And she's like, people are listening, and I feel like it's a really important time to talk about our story and talk about our ancestors. And
Wow.
I just realized I kind of could bridge that gap, because while she was like online, she wasn't really actively creating content or anything. She was scrolling and consuming. And so I took it upon myself and started to create and share that. And then definitely after she passed, it's interesting, because I feel like I talked about this with my therapist quite a bit, because I would have moments of feeling guilt, because I felt like I was so functional in a lot of ways after she passed away. But I realized, I think I had just found purpose in carrying on the message. And I felt like I had a purpose to take care of myself, and to preserve and to extend like her legacy and her work. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, you're literally the reason why I started Grief Sense. Like people like
That's
you,
so sweet.
like yeah, because I can't even tell you, and it's so wild, like just being from Connecticut and just having that
Yeah.
connection and bond that we have. But
Yeah.
um I didn't know a lot of people like me who had experienced traumatic or like really formative, just like losses from formative foundational pillars in their
Yeah.
lives. Um, and I'm going about my daily life, going to school, doing the American dream or like the American nightmare, right?
Right.
But like,
Right.
do all the things that's expected of you.
Right.
Meanwhile, I have tragedy after tragedy after tragedy
Mm-hmm.
happening. And like I quit my corporate job back in at the end of 2022, and I was like, no, like I know there's more people like me out there. I need to find them, and I want to hold space, and I want to hear their stories, and I
Mm-hmm.
want to build community. I want to do events, and like I want to do this thing. And so that's really when Grief Sense started in a formal capacity. But everything you just described is the word that I created, grief sense, to kind of like describe this feeling that I had. It's like, how can I have experienced such a wild traumatic experience? Or even in your sense, it's like the anticipatory grief before
Yeah.
someone dies. You're grieving them every
Yeah.
single day, and you know what's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And so instead of kind of, I'm sure depression and, anxiety and all of the intense sadness came, but having that creative spark or that momentum to go in and just be like, no, the way I'm going to handle this and deal with this is by honoring my people. And that's going to help, heal my mental health in the process. But
Yeah.
I mean, from hearing your story and from what I know about you, I feel like it's definitely probably inspired your creativity even more. And you look at how many communities you've been able to impact, how much influence you've been able to have. Like it's incredible. And like your
Thank you.
mom is there and so many people know about her. Like I think that's one of the biggest gifts that we can give to our loved ones after they pass. And like
Mhm.
I was on a conversation yesterday. I would love to introduce you to. I have a friend named Matt Jacobson, and
Okay.
his organization is called Life Books, and he
Okay.
basically meets with families and has a resource where people can turn their stories about their loved one into a life book. So
I
it'll
feel
be
like I've
like a
heard of this, maybe.
yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
family heirloom
Yeah.
that would can pass on for generations and generations. You can have different volumes of it. So like whenever there's an anniversary or something, you can make another edition to honor your person. But just
Mhm.
with that, no, it's like a legacy project. It's kind of
Mhm.
what some voices in the grief world call it, or
Mm.
grief sense is like my legacy project to kind of honor all of the people I've lost. But I think the work that you do, like you're a walking legacy project yourself. Um, but with that, I've just always kind of had this like fascination with honoring people or just like dignifying them in death,
Yeah.
because I can't tell you one how many funerals I've been to that it's more about religion or it's more about God than it is about the actual person. Like,
Person.
did you really know them? Like, did you take the time to know their hobbies and their likes and their favorite song, like
Yeah.
where their birthmarks were, why they got their tattoos that they got, like whatever it was. And like we're walking universes. Like we have
Yes.
so much knowledge and experiences, and like it's
Yeah.
so heartbreaking to me that they just die with the person. And how many
Mhm.
people who have passed, our ancestors, people in
Mhm.
our lives, even just, these voices that have become martyrs in the movement, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Wright, how many of their experiences were not told? We just know, yeah, this Black person died or this person died in this family, but like,
But
what
the
yeah,
intricate
the
details,
details, the nuances, like what's that? And so that's
Yeah.
kind of the inspiration behind Grief Sense, for us to hold space, to acknowledge and hold space for the nuances, the intimate details, so we can just like it's like a museum, we don't have like a
Mhm.
physical museum of this person, but I
Mhm.
want every episode to feel like they can come and visit this virtual museum and
That's so
just get
good.
to spend time with our loved ones. So I'm just so happy we're connected and that
Me
we can just
too.
honor your mom. Like, it's such a blessing.
Thank you so much for the space to do so. Truly.
Thank you.
It's
Ugh,
everything. It's everything. And I think too what you said about being creative through grief, it really is this brilliant opportunity to transmute the energy and to transform the pain,
yeah,
and I think that that is a lot of what I and what's you and what so many other people have done in the face of loss is figuring out how to honor kind of that pain. And it's really beautiful. I think it was in a Andrew Garfield interview, and he was talking about grief, and I believe he lost his mother, and he was
yep,
saying, I'm appreciative for the grief because it's the love enduring. And it really is it is so beautiful to learn how to healthily navigate grief because it is just a manifestation of that love continuing. And I feel
yeah,
so grateful for it, like so grateful to feel, you know?
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh, wow. Yeah, and I think it's just so wild to me, just like having these micro validations and
Mhm.
life affirming moments of like, just that that you're on the right path. And You
Yeah,
know, we talked about just divine timing and how things are
yeah,
happening. Like there's so many blessings happening in both of our lives. I'm just like, and this is the time that we needed to record. Like, you know, we could have
exactly.
done it a year or two
Years,
ago, but
yeah.
this is the time. Like
They
we're
come when they're
supposed to do
supposed
this right
to.
now.
Yeah,
Yes.
we just said supposed to
Yes.
at the same time too, yeah.
Like, yes, yes,
Yeah,
100%. Um, so with that, can you talk to the people about
sure.
some of the amazing accomplishments and milestones you've been able to achieve while transmuting your grief, while channeling your grief sense? Like what, yeah, talk to us about like you were featured in essays. I mean, you just like talk to us. What are some of the things and
Yeah.
milestones you've been able to do?
Yeah, I mean, no, that was a beautiful one. I feel like, I grew up on Essence, and my mom obviously knew about Essence, and to be able to talk to Achille King, who is a really beautiful writer and creative herself,
Yeah.
for the publication about grief and talking about that around Indigenous Peoples Day in 2023, I believe, was definitely an amazing accomplishment. And I feel like it speaks to like also the work you're doing, and that we're trying to
Mm,
in dealing with grief kind of normalize these feelings and emotions and navigating them. And also shortly after my mom passed in 2022, I had just moved into this apartment in New York, and I was doing something, and my phone was on D&D as it always is, and I went back to it and I saw this message or voice email. Oh my gosh, voicemail. There are too many voice options nowadays. Like I can't. Um, and I got an email, and it was the producer from the People's Choice Awards. And I
yeah.
paused, and I called her back. And yeah, she told me, she was like, Lizzo handpicked you to be on stage to receive this award, which I was so grateful for, to be up there with all of those women who have accomplished and been such pillars in community. And yeah, I just remember feeling like my mom had a hand in that happening, and to be able to, on that level of a stage, talk about our people, the Chappaquiddick Wampanoag, and talk about that
Mhm.
work, and wanting to get land back. And I remember before going down for our last rehearsal in the morning, I'd gone up to my room to get something, and in this little journal, I keep a photo of my mom tucked in it. And I had opened my bag, and my journal fell out and the photo slipped out, and she was just like looking right up right up at me, and I cried, and I had a whole little moment in my room before going down to meet up with everybody again. And yeah, it
Ugh.
was so special, and I can just feel her wanting us, like, as a community, to win, and pushing me to keep using my voice. Yeah.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
incredible. And I will say there is something magic. I've experienced it too, like just wild like moments you just wouldn't like expect to happen.
You
Um
can't even dream them. Like, it'll, yeah. Yeah.
no. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like having lost is a blessing and a curse.
Mhm.
Curse in that, obviously like this is the most deepful, painful thing
Mhm.
anyone can experience.
Mhm.
Especially losing your mom. Like that
Mhm.
is that there's grief. Like I do feel like the grief is different compared on the different losses that you
For sure.
experience. And like your mom is just someone that, you know, um
Mhm.
I lost my father, but I know that that grief would be different than, like, losing my mom, so just
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that, but I
Yeah.
also wanted to say too, like, do you ever feel? Because I feel it now too speaking with you, and this is how I just know we were meant to connect too, because when I speak to other folks who have also experienced loss, like or just anyone in general, like, I feel like I'm not just talking to you in this moment, like, I feel like I'm talking to your ancestral lineage, like, as you're talking, like, I feel like there's, like, multiple voices coming out of you, like, I feel your mom, like, I feel
For
your
sure.
tribe, I feel like, I just always feel that, and, like, I
Yeah.
try to remind myself of that, like, even if someone is saying something I might not agree with, even on social media, or if we're having a like I just try to ground myself in that. Like I'm not just talking to this one person. Like this one person has so many dimensions and so many
Yeah.
origin points why they have the perspective that they have.
Yeah,
So I
absolutely.
just try to look at that like as a whole person. But when someone leads the way you do, lives the way you do, it's just so special. Like, but do you ever feel that? Because I be
I
feeling
do.
recent
No, I
touch.
think that I actually, yeah, I feel like we all have so many past influences and are made up of and made by many people. I think
Yeah.
something too on that note that I'm remembering, I was reflecting on a lot in the early days of my mom's loss, was being and experiencing so much grief around realizing that there were people that I was going to start to meet who would never meet her.
Mhm.
And kind of coming to terms with that. But then I had realized or read or watched or consumed something, and it felt so comforting to know that they would meet her, but through me. And like
Mm.
we are the medium through which others are meeting who we've lost and our ancestors, you know? So I
Yeah.
definitely feel that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That was beautifully said. Wow.
Thank you.
So talk to us about the land back movement. What are some of the things that you've been able to, how have you been able to collaborate with other influential voices in the land back movement? Educate us about that. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be folks tuning in who really don't know how to get involved. And I'm an activist myself, but I focus more on like obviously grief, suicide prevention, mental health side of things, and anti-racism. Done a lot of work in the Black liberation space. But for folks who don't know what these terms are, how can you kind of educate them a little bit on that? And then also, what are some hopes that you are hoping to see in the land back movement?
Sure. Yeah. So I personally describe land back as not a mass eviction of people. I think that it's something when you say land back, people, and especially residents, specifically on Martha's Vineyard, Noah Bay, are terrified that I'm going to lose my home, and this is going to impact me to a large degree. So I like to say that it's not a mass eviction of people; it's returning the land back to the Indigenous stewards, and that can look so many different ways.
Mhm.
People are able to, in wills, if you are a private residence and you own a home or own land somewhere, anywhere that is on Indigenous land, you're able to donate land to tribes. And a lot of people don't have that
Mm.
education, and that awareness isn't widely known.
Mhm.
But you can donate land and donate property to tribes. Also, there's a lot of land that is owned by the state or is owned by land banks. And so specifically on our island, Chappaquiddick Island, we are looking to do that. That is the route that feels the best. It's not taking any private property. It's land that is, just maintained by the trustees of the reservation, who are an organization in Massachusetts. And it's working with those parties to start to reclaim the sovereignty of that land and to be able to be on that land and to work that land and to introduce indigenous practices, like our sisters gardening method, and things that are more sustainable so that we can see the biodiversity come back, we can see the ecosystems come back to life, and we can really turn around so much of the damage that colonization has done.
Yeah. And that's a whole I have a shirt that says "Decolonize your bookshelf," and that's like my favorite shirt
Yeah,
to
that's
wear. I need one in every color.
love it.
Um, wow, and you're kinda just bringing up for me too, thanks for sharing all of that, by the way, because I didn't know that either. And I think it's so timely with our conversation regarding, like, grief takes like, it's a word that brings on so many experiences, but even just, like, the word death, like, after someone dies, a lot of people don't know the process or like what to do. And
Mhm.
you just literally pointed out a quick well, not quick, but like a tangible way on how one, we can honor our
Mhm.
people that have passed, but
Yeah.
two, honor our environments, which is a huge component of how we show up every day. So that's amazing. I can't wait to share this episode so people can know
Absolutely.
that knowledge.
Yeah.
um and I know you're really big on saying like the actual names, the original indigenous names of places, like Noepe for Martha's Vineyard that was founded by a British colonizer, named it after his daughter Martha. Like, no, that is not Martha's Vineyard. It's Noepe.
Correct. Incorrect. Yes. But yeah, no,
So,
definitely I am.
are there other spaces or states that you know, or other any other states in America that you know the original names to, or
Well,
any
yeah.
advice on how people can kind of get that knowledge?
Yeah. Well, okay, so there's what is this app called? I think it's called Native Land, maybe.
Hmm.
It's literally called Native Land. Yeah. I like thought that and I second guessed myself and then just was silent for 2 minutes. So there's an app called Native Land that actually shows the territories and what their original names were from the indigenous peoples before the European colonization of Turtle Island. Like I myself say, living in Brooklyn, I say I'm on Lenape land because that is the home of like the Lenape tribe. Also another area that is very similar in ways to Martha's Vineyard or Noepe are the Hamptons. And that is
Yep.
Shinnecock land. And so the Shinnecock people lived on Long Island and yeah, they were a part of our community and like that waterway was all connected and we would trade and there was so much togetherness and things that were intertwined between ours and their tribe.
Wow.
And also just in the Northeast, so many of the states already are native names. Massachusetts,
Right.
you've got different places in Rhode Island.
I learned Minnesota has a lot. Like
Yes,
even just like the
absolutely.
Midwest has a lot. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And yeah, so many places in Connecticut as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, those are all like Massachusetts language names and places, and that's
Wow.
a tribe as well.
Yeah, like see, this is a knowledge that was taken away from us,
Yeah,
growing up. And so I just love when, activists and advocates literally dedicate their life to educating folks on this knowledge, because you think you know something. And then I feel like maturing and adulting is realizing everything you were taught was a lie.
no, it is. It's like this constant unlearning. It's like unraveling your brain and digesting new information and taking
Yeah.
out what was indoctrinated for so many years.
Wow. So, and one thing I'll say on that too is I love when it's only happened a couple times, but when I go to like conferences or like even like creative spaces, and then when the host or someone will open up with like the land back acknowledgement.
Mhm.
I love that, and I think that's
Mhm.
another tangible way on how we can just hold space, hold
For
education.
sure. For sure. I think it
Do
needs
you
to
see that a
be
lot, or?
I see it a lot. I see it often, whether it's in person or a Zoom or digital event. I I think it's definitely important, and I'm glad that it's been integrated into I think what is more mainstream now. But I
Yeah.
also don't want it to stop there because I feel
Right.
like sometimes people think, okay, this is going to pacify folks if we say, okay, yes, we're on Lenape land. Let's get into it. I think that it's
Like
really
sign
important to
up.
realize like that is not reversing or helping the sustainability of us living on this planet, which is our shared home, like in any way. It's just the
Right.
first step in acknowledging like these were the original stewards who were caring for this space. And
Right.
we need to go further and say we need to listen to their voices and have that knowledge, like impart that knowledge and digest it so that we can
Yeah.
use it for the benefit of all of us.
Right. Call to action. Don't
Yeah.
stop there. There's always
Yeah.
more that we can do. So, with everything you shared and just really reflecting on the word community, how have you seen parallels and solidarity within the land back movement or within decolonization as a whole when it comes to, what's happening in Palestine, or even with, what's happened in Puerto Rico and Hawaii? A recent thing that I've appreciated, like I loved that. I mean, I love Bad Bunny for many reasons, but
Mhm.
Bad Bunny's recent album, Debí Tirar
Beautiful.
Más Fotos, literally acknowledges that. And I had saw on Instagram like how many people from Palestine were appreciating the music because of the parallels of, just this it's being impacted by colonization, and then a lot of people not knowing about it. So I honestly just love when I see solidarity within different cultures because yes, we have different experiences,
Yeah.
but unfortunately we are trauma bonded and united by oppression. And how
Yeah.
can we really build community? So I'm just, that's one way I've seen, but I'm just really interested, like how have you seen just yeah, solidarity within the space?
Yeah, honestly, the first example I'm thinking of is there was a Thanksgiving, the Macy's Day float in
Mm,
2023, and the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, who is in our nation and is a sister tribe to us, were on that float, and
mm,
one of the younger adults who was on that float held up a flag in solidarity with Palestine. And I just felt like that was such an important place and stage to do that.
mm,
I think that it's undeniable the ways in which our struggles are connected. And it's very frustrating that those who are upholding systems of oppression and white supremacy try to make us feel like they're different. And
mhm,
then we can get distracted and, have conflict amongst ourselves. But I think that it's obvious that, at the end of the day, these people are fighting for their right to exist and fighting to just be living on their ancestral homeland. And that's exactly what happened in Turtle Island and on Turtle Island. Um, so yeah,
yeah,
I think seeing those shows of or displays of solidarity are so important and really inspire me to do the same and to continue the work of like building communities so that we have the support of one another and the safety of one another because it also feels safer to show up in those ways sometimes, unfortunately, when
mm,
there are numbers.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think especially now, right, with the new administration and how all of
Yeah.
these pressures of just constant attacks on our safety,
Mhm.
these are the times that we need to be building strategically in communities, moving together. And something I found myself saying recently, which was definitely inspired by my fiance, because we were having a conversation right when Trump became president again, which don't even know how that happened. Hashtag white privilege, but here we are.
Yes.
Um, we were having a conversation about how all of these things, right, ICE attacking undocumented folks, and another thing I've noticed too, it's like specific undocumented. It's like, why is like Latino another word for undocumented? I don't understand, because you see a lot of folks that are Black and Latino getting attacked, but white immigrants are not. I don't know, anyway, conversation
Yes.
for another
It's
day.
targeted. Yeah.
Targeted, right?
Yeah.
But and then our funding, and then he just attacked Department of Education, right? Like all of these experiences that we need, that our ancestors fought for, these rights
Mhm.
for us to have, right? Like that will get anyone frustrated and consumed. And my fiance said, this is why we need our own economies and our own spaces where we can nurture our own communities, build our own food, nurture our own our ecosystems and everything like that. And he said, we need to stay focused on the things that bring us joy and connectivity
Yes.
and community, because that's what it's going to take. And
Yes.
I've just, once we had that conversation, was it literally how, and the other wild thing is like, how ironic was it that the inauguration was on Martin Luther King Day? I'm
I
just
know.
like,
I
the
observed that as
timing is
well.
always, yeah.
Yes.
But just, yeah, I feel like that's the charge that I've been telling myself and my people,
Yes.
and like through my social media impact and stuff, is just like stay connected to the things that bring you joy and ground you, because
Absolutely.
that is how we're going to do this. But how does that
Yes.
show up in your life? Like
Yeah.
what comes to mind on
Yeah.
that?
I just want to say that's such an important point.
Mm,
I recently saw on TikTok this video, and it was specifically a reflection of the AIDS epidemic. And it
mm,
was, I wish I remember the name of the person who was interviewed, but they had said, um, we bury our friends in the morning, we go to
mm,
work during the day, and at night, like we dance or listen to music. I'm paraphrasing, but that's in
yeah.
essence what they had said. And the joy in the resistance is so important. And that's what allows for the refuel and for the charging so that there can be the fighting. Oh, sorry. I believe in the day, like part of that was at some point in the day, we are like we're protesting or fighting or, on the front lines. And the joy is so incredibly important. I've been talking with friends about that as well. And in my life, it looks like DJing right now. I feel like laughing, like being in community and laughing with friends, whether that's just having conversations with them, watching something, taking walks, and also just cultivating the space to have my creative outlet, which right now is DJing, is where I'm finding my joy. I feel like it's also been a place where I've been able to transmute so much energy and so much pain. I've always loved music, and I picked up my first instrument at 8 years old. And I studied, actually, when I was in Connecticut, I was studying music management in college. And I didn't feel confident enough to pursue performance. And I feel like I didn't quite find the right medium. And recently I was introduced to DJing through a friend, and it has been so transformative. And I feel like I'm able to, use my voice in a way that I haven't before, which I'm so excited to share. But also, first and foremost, it's just been a way for me to sit with and work through so many feelings. But it's so important that we all find and have joy, because joy is what is needed to fight evil.
Yeah, the parasite.
It's absolutely necessary. And I think something that makes folks who are oppressive and uphold white supremacy so upset, even more upset, is that they're being so horrible to so many people and communities, and we're so resilient and won't let them take our joy. And it's really important. And I'm not saying this in any way, obviously, and I don't think you are either, to bypass the very real grief and the feelings that come with deportation, and come with generations of exploitation and genocide and enslavement. But it's so important to like cultivate and retain and keep our joy, because that is also that directly impacts and like fights that horrible energy.
Wow. Yeah. Oof. All of the things. And I made a post on LinkedIn the other day that also, for anyone listening to the pod, like, people always ask me where I've been, because I haven't really been posting on TikTok or Instagram as much. Like, I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, because
I was gonna ask how that is, because I haven't been on there in so long. I remember my mom made me make one when I graduated college. And she's like, you need to be on LinkedIn. It's where the people are, recruiters are for the jobs. And I was on there, like I would touch base, but I tried to log on a couple of years ago, forgot my password, can't get the recovery. Like I've just been very out of the loop. So
I'm just saying, if you're not on LinkedIn, do it. It's changing. Okay. Like it's a really good space right now. Like, of course, there's like the professional side of it, but I'm part of the movement of LinkedIn influencers that are changing the platform, of like just humanizing it, talking more about our experiences day to day. And it's like, it's amazing. Like, I've also gotten brand partnerships. Like, it's wild. Like it's wild how much LinkedIn has been, because you are an established authority in your credibility through the work that you've done. Like, literally, these people, we have degrees, we have master's degrees, we've spoken on panels, we've hosted like, that's all professional experience. Like, absolutely. Transmute that into what you want, like your creativity, what you want to achieve. And so I've just been doing that, and it's all that to say LinkedIn is where it's at. But
you might influence me to get on LinkedIn.
Listen, be part of it, be part of the movement. But I was gonna say, I had recently made a post on LinkedIn. It was definitely a hot take. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. But I feel like the anti-woke voices are like the most woke of all, because they don't want us to be awake. Like they
Mm.
do everything in their power. They don't want us woke because they know that they benefit off us not knowing
Yeah.
what they're doing to Black and Indigenous and Latino and undocumented and Palestinian and trans, all of our insert minoritized identity here.
Right.
Communities. Like I feel like they benefit off of us from being overworked, underpaid, exploited, right?
Absolutely.
Like they want us to be asleep so they can extract every little thing out of us. And so that's why I love what you're saying. Like we have to reclaim our joy because that is how we bring awareness and really being woke. Like it's been such a demonized word, but that's literally their movement. Like that's what they want to do, is they want to demonize this word woke, but really it just means being aware. And there's harm to them in being aware because then they can't do the things that they need to do to keep us asleep. But I'm just curious to know your thoughts on that.
I hear that. No, I appreciate you articulating that and putting it out into the world. I think that there's such a long history of using that same tactic and making us feel ridiculous or making it sound like just something lesser than what it actually is. But I think it's important to remember, just don't it's just like this bait to bring you down into argument and to bring you down into their level. And it's like, let's just not, it's important to acknowledge that there are millions of people that have this mindset and that want harm for so many people, but also not taking the bait in terms of just like distracting ourselves with like this argument of what woke is, because we know what it is. We know what we're coming to terms with, and we don't need to be in conversation or in that back and forth,
Yes. Absolutely. Wow. Well, to bring it back to our beautiful girl, Alma.
Yes.
I just love this conversation. I know this is going to resonate with so many people. So with that, we do have a creative prompt segment of the podcast. And I just love to do this with guests because journaling is such a formative, process in my mental health. And it's something I do every day. And I just love when guests are excited about journaling with me. So on the prompt that you chose to journal on, what is a dream that your mom or your loved one never got to achieve or fulfill before they died? And I would just love your thoughts on that to share with the people. And also I encourage those listening in to reflect on that. Like who is someone in your life that, there was a dream that they never got to fulfill?
Yeah, thank you for creating all of those prompts. Very thought-provoking. Very thought-provoking. So yeah, something that my mom didn't get to accomplish in her life here on Earth was seeing land back for our tribe. It was something she worked so tirelessly for. She worked a 9 to 5 and, was on the LinkedIn, all the stuff. But also, like all of the work as a historian and the chief or Sonks, which is woman chief of our tribe, she did in her downtime and just like after work on the weekends. And so all of her spare time really was consumed with trying to fight for justice and reparations for our ancestors. And I think that that's something that I'm just very aware of. And along with other members of my tribe, because I can't do it by myself, that is something that I'm working on to help realize, because I just feel like it'll just feel like such an accomplishment, like not just for my mom, but just all of our ancestors collectively. And I remember her talking and reflecting on my grandmother passing and how my grandmother and her sister, my grandma Mabel and Aunt Margaret, wanted to see our people back on the land, and that it's just been passed through generations and wanting to, finally fulfill it.
Thank you so much for sharing. Do you find that people are starting to do that? I mean, I know, isn't there like a certain week or month of August, I think, right, where a lot of folks in the Black community spend a lot of time on Noepe?
Yeah, there is definitely a lot of Black community and Black history on the island too. I was actually just talking about this in a video where a lot of Black folks actually came up to the island because it was part of the network of the Underground Railroad. And so it was kind of a safe space and there were a lot of Native folks that were allies to the Black people coming to the island. But yeah, I think that it's starting to move in that direction. You know, like people and homeowners have become aware, and you know, we've received some inquiries about folks who are interested in maybe passing the title or deed of their property to the tribe. And so just slowly like taking steps towards realizing that. But yeah, it's taking time, and we'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I love the work that you're doing. You're definitely doing it in real time. And I think it's one of those things too, in any liberation movement, that it is going to take time. And that's why it's important for us to show up in our joy, to do DJing, to do writing, to do content creation, and amplifying our stories on social, to joining movements that, you know, is a call to action for all of us, but a call to honor our ancestors, because some of the things that we're fighting so hard for, we might not be able to see that come to life in our lifetime, but everything we're doing today is going to set, you know, nurture fertile ground for the next generation to, you know, to plant those seeds and cultivate the ground. So also, really quick, did you go to UHeart? Because is that also where I know you from, or not?
I think that's how we know each other. Or like that's how we know of each other. But I don't think we didn't really like collide there.
My mind is like, because when you said music major, I was like, wait.
No, because it's specific. Yeah, it's very specific to that school. And like that was one of the only schools in the country that offered something like that, which is why I found myself there. Because I didn't grow up in Connecticut, but I went to school there.
Wow. Well, hey, UHeart alumni sis.
UHeart. I wish we had. I was gonna do like, this is definitely like
Texas. I know, like
yeah. I'm like, what is the UHeart?
UHeart Hawks, right? Like I don't even know. Like UHeart,
so maybe.
Yeah, Hawks.
Oh, UHeart Hawks. UHeart Hawks.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Well, but even really quick too about the DJ thing. I just feel like being a DJ and also being a woman DJ is just like, or just anyone like femme, like it's just so powerful. Like you're like an architect you're a vibe architect, you know, like you fill the room and you see like what's gonna get them, you know, feeling good and spark conversation. And I love those moments, bro. I live for those
really
moments.
Curating it. Yeah.
Listen, when you're in the room and you play like the song, you're like, yo, that's my song. And then they have
people resonate. Yeah. No, it's like you're shifting the vibration of the room through sound.
Yes, absolutely. Like it's magic. It's like magic in real time. Wow. Well, as we wrap up, I just want to say, was there anything I wasn't able to ask or anything we weren't able to talk about that you feel is like really important for those tuning in to hear from you? Maybe things that you're working on, any advice on how to navigate the spaces that we're in right now, anything like about honoring our loved ones, like what's coming to mind for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think that in regards to just navigating grief, no matter who it is, but, you know, especially a pillar, like a parent, it's really, really important to feel everything. I feel really grateful that during the time that my mom passed, like that immediate time, I really just allowed myself to sit in my emotions, and that I had community around me that I felt safe doing that with and processing with. Just feel everything and let it move through you, because grief really can be such a teacher. You can learn so much about yourself and about who you lost and just about the world through that. Something also I want to say is that if you're able, because I know there's privilege in this, just advocating for yourself as you're navigating grief. Something I feel really grateful and privileged to have been able to do is, you know, I was working at that time, and I've been freelance for quite some time now. I was communicating with a partner about deliverables, a business partner, like somebody for work. And I had, it's okay.
It took me out. I was trying to hold it back.
It's okay to laugh. It's fine. Love laughing. And yeah, so it was a business partner, some work collaboration. And I had told them, I was like, oh, is it okay to submit this in another couple of days because I just lost my mom?
Mm.
And they had just emailed me back and not acknowledged anything that I'd said. And I
Mm.
felt like that they that was not okay with me. And I'm so grateful that I felt and had the power to say something about it. And I I messaged them back and I was like, hey, respectfully, this doesn't really feel that great because I just said that I
Mm.
lost my mother, and right now we're focused on the business of it all, and I'm okay with just canceling this partnership, and I wish you the best. And through that vulnerability, though, it was really beautiful. Thank you. Through that vulnerability, and I had this feeling when I had sent the message, but she had responded back and said, I really am sorry for being dismissive of what you communicated with me.
Wow.
I lost my mom a couple of years ago, and I feel like, my response and my environment was very just head down and work through it. And so I was just doing that same thing.
Wow.
And it allowed for such a beautiful conversation to happen
Mm.
and for us to both be vulnerable with one another and talk about how grief looks different for everybody and we need different things. And I needed just an acknowledgement, like, I'm sorry your mom passed. Let's do in a couple of days. So advocating for yourself, if you feel like you have that allowance, please do that. I don't think
Yeah.
you'll regret it. And yeah, just to mimic what you said, Mimi, continue to find and hold on to your joy.
Wow.
Yes,
Yeah, and that's a lot of, I think, what we're doing by sharing our stories. It's really
absolutely.
creating these grief literate, that's what I say, is grief literate
Mm,
environments, workplaces,
mhm,
because these systems,
mhm,
like sometimes we have folks that are older in the workplace or just everyone in the workplace, or as we have business partners. I'm seeing that a lot too as I'm getting brand partnerships and things like
mhm.
people are just like us, but we are, representatives of these really harmful systems that
Yeah,
have been conditioning us, and they have not been conditioned to support the mental health of humans. Like
yeah,
literally work was created so that work could
yes.
happen. Like there was no space for mental health, for grief,
No,
for anything
no,
like that, let alone the grief of Black or Indigenous, Latino, like anyone who is
right.
minoritized, right? So
Yeah,
it's how we share our stories that's able to kind of break these barriers and create these more mental health literate, grief literate, insert trauma literate,
yeah,
racism literate, oppression
yeah.
literate workplaces and systems. Um yeah, so I think that's core to both of our work and stuff like that. But
So true.
with that, where can people follow you? How can they get tapped in with your work? And yeah, all the
Yes.
things.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and SoundCloud. That's coming in
Okay.
April. All at Kara Roselle S. So KaraRoselles.
Perfect. All right. Well, with that, it's been an honor to
Yes.
recognize and hold space for your mom. I feel her with us in this space, even though we're virtual, and I can't
Me
wait to see
too.
you in person soon. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story, for all of the work that you're doing. It's critical. We need you. And I'm just so grateful to coexist in this timeline on Earth with you.
Me
So yeah,
too.
thank you so much for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mimi.